Hi, guys, and welcome back to the Plot Genie. Today, we're going to talk about something a little different. It was a request I received, and it really spoke a lot to me. We're going to jump in and talk about it, but I just wanted to, I don't like trigger warnings. I think life is life. And I'm going to be sharing some personal stuff that has happened to me and, you know, do with it what you will. Um, but yeah, I just wanted to kind of give you like, okay, hey, happy September. It's going to be a little bit different vibes for this video, but I do think that it'll be helpful. And yeah, I'm hoping that it will help. So, writing during a hard season isn't just difficult, it can feel impossible. When life hits you with grief or heartbreak, burnout or trauma, your creative spark doesn't always show up. But here's the truth: you don't have to write like nothing happened. Today, I want to share how I keep writing through hard seasons, not just around the good times, and how you can too. So if you're new here, hi. I wish we could have met on happier circumstances, but if you clicked on this video, then first and foremost, I am here for you. My name is Heather. I help writers create sustainable habits, strong stories, and compassionate momentum, especially when life gets hard. If you're going through something right now, whether it's loss, burnout, anxiety, depression, heartbreak, you are not alone. This video is your permission to slip to write through it it's your permission slip to write through it without guilt or pressure. So the first thing that I want to talk about is just acknowledge that you are in this season. Stop pretending you're in a normal season. You might be in grief. You might be in caregiving mode. You might be in a major life transition or emotional burnout or physical exhaustion. Trying to write at full speed in a storm is a fast path to burnout. Honor the fact that the season is different and that you are allowed to be different inside of it. Ask yourself, what kind of energy do I have right now? What is realistic for me, not idealistic? Survival mode is not failure. It's proof that you're still here, and that's what matters. So, first and foremost, I guess not first and foremost, but I want to make sure that everyone who is watching this video, this is not a video that's going to tell you to give yourself time, give yourself space. Some people need that, but you don't need me to give you permission to do that, right? Like if for those of you who need that time off of writing, more than welcome, do what you need to do. I'm talking to the writers who either have taken that time and they're trying to get back into it, or who need to utilize writing as sort of a distraction or a way to process what you're going through. So the goal is the writing. It's not necessarily, I need to figure out how to not feel guilty for not writing, if that makes sense. So if you're watching this video and you need more like that, there are plenty of other videos out there that's going to help you through this. This particular video are for those people who want to still write, not necessarily because you're trying to force it, but maybe because you still want to write, you just are coming up blank. It's almost like writer's block, right? So the writing is the ultimate goal. So again, the first step is acknowledging that this is going to be a different season and you are going to be different in it. The second step is shrinking your target. So instead of aiming for perfection or pushing through the pressure, just shrink the target a little bit. So for example, instead of, okay, I want to write 1,000 words, aim for 100 or even one sentence. Instead of outline a novel, just brainstorm a scene or a couple of characters. Instead of writing every single day, maybe just write once a week or when it feels okay. Gentle goals are not weak. They are wise. They help you stay connected to your story without demanding everything from you. You can even journal as your character. Write emotional scenes. Use your pain as a palette, not as a weight. The third step to think about is choosing creative ritual over creative output. So, what does this mean exactly? When you can't control your life, focus on what you can control, how you actually show up. So, this could mean creating a ritual, not a routine. Maybe you're lighting a candle, brewing a comforting drink. Put on music that speaks to your mood. Write for 10 minutes and then just stop. Even if you don't write a single word, you've kept the door open by creating this ritual. And some days that's more than enough progress. Writing can become your anchor, not your pressure point. So the next step is let the story change if you need it to. Sometimes what you're working on no longer feels aligned with who you are in this moment, and that's okay. You can take a break from your work in progress. You can switch to a different story. You can journal your way through emotions. You can channel what you're feeling into your fiction. If your fantasy book suddenly stops, like if your fantasy books suddenly wants to deal with grief, let it. If your romance needs to take a darker turn, don't be afraid to go there. Your pain has a voice, and you're showing people that they're not alone. One of the ways that I did this is when I was, oh gosh, how old was I? 25? Yes. When I was 25 and 26, I had three missed miscarriages. So, what that means is at about 6 to 7 weeks, I had miscarriages. I would get a positive pregnancy test and then I miscarried. And this happened, I think I had three of them in like 10 months. So, no one could tell me why it was happening. I had a daughter that I carried to term, healthy, completely normal, like a normal pregnancy, my first pregnancy. And then this, right? And I always look back on Heather at 25 and 26, and I just want to hug her because she was so determined to have another child that she obviously she made it happen. But the way that she made it happen was she almost pushed all of the mourning and the grief aside to focus on this goal. And she knew the end goal. She knew it was going to happen. She believed in it. And luckily, we were able to get referred to, gosh, I forget what it's called. It's not like infertility, but it's like they try to, they're going to run tests and they're going to look to see what happened. And for me, they gave me progesterone. And I guess taking that helps. And literally a month after that third miscarriage, I got pregnant, healthy baby. Everything is great. Um, I actually had two more without the need of progesterone as well. So I'm very blessed. And I knew that going into it, I knew I could get pregnant. So that was sort of my silver lining is, okay, I can get pregnant now. How do I stay pregnant? I definitely turned to God. I turned to the Bible in terms of spiritual things like that. But in terms of writing, um, I I kind of cut back a lot on the writing because my focus was on getting pregnant. Once I was pregnant with the rainbow baby, and I'm sure if anybody's had a rainbow baby, you have that fear in the back of your head, like, okay, I just have to make it to hearing to the heartbeat, or I just have to make it past that first trimester, or I just have to make it past. And so I would try to write to sort of distract myself from that, right? And again, this is where that hug for 25-year-old Heather comes in. I don't think she ever fully grieved the losses. And that's not to say she didn't care. It's more of she didn't let herself be sad because she was so determined to get and stay pregnant. And so I don't know if you guys remember, but with Bridgerton, at the end of season 3, I'm not trying to spoil it, but I guess they gender swapped one of the characters. And it really upset people. I didn't even watch the season, but it really upset a lot of women because this particular character was going to go through infertility and deal with infertility. And this was a storyline that women of all colors and shapes and sizes and all of that experience. It would have been a very unifying, you are not alone. Let's talk about something that affects so many of us that people are so afraid to talk about. It would have been an amazing storyline. And the backlash was pretty like a big deal. And I had already kind of planned, gosh, what book was it? I think it's book 8. It was book 8 in my hockey series, my dark hockey series. And I don't know why, but I was suddenly compelled to add a miscarriage in my book. And I am not the type to cry when I write my characters or say goodbye to them or anything like that. It's not, I promise I'm not cold-hearted. But when I wrote that book and I finally put into words everything that I was feeling, everything my husband was feeling, I had my moments of crying. And it was really, really cathartic for me. And the responses that I got from people who were reading it was almost like a thank you for sharing this, especially in a genre like romance, like dark romance, because again, you have so many women who have gone through that. And there's so many of us that why are we scared to sort of talk about it? And I know that our job is to give escape. And that is 100%. I completely agree with that. But I also think that especially for us who we're doing the writing, we need release of what we're going through. We need our own escape, and we find that through our fiction. And sometimes we have to write what we went through in order to process that. And sometimes it'll take 10 years for, us to do that, like Heather now, right? But I needed that release, and it was almost like that love letter um, to the losses. Another way, and this is what even got me into writing in the first place, is after my grandfather died, I kind of became type A because it's sort of like you can't control life. So what can you control? And there is a positive and a negative, right? We have to make sure that we're towing the line and we don't get too control freak type A. And I've learned so much, thank God for my husband. I thank God for God too. But when he died, like he was the closest person I was in my family. And this happened when I was in, like I said, 8th grade, so 14. And this is like the cusp of who are you as a woman? Like, you know, but I wrote so much because I could control what was going on in my stories. And every single time there's a grandparent, usually it's the grandfather. It's named after my grandfather. And this is my homage to him. Um, I'm like not the crying type, so I'm sorry, but it's sort of like I will write scenes of like what I wish he had, sorry, the opportunity to tell me. Um, I will write scenes of what I wish we were able to experience together. And it's like I'm very grateful because it's sort of like I think we all like live vicariously through our characters, but it really was helpful to me because as you can see, you know, this happened um 21 years ago. And it's you never get over something that hits you that hard. So when it comes to grief and when it comes to wanting to channel that grief, sometimes we aren't able to write it all. And sometimes we are, and there are ways to go about doing that. Um, and so for those of you who are ready to write and you're just unable to, or you're stuck, maybe completely just if you need it to be fictionalized because you don't want to write it from a realistic point of view, you can do something like that. Um, and this has really sort of helped me. So again, I apologize for getting a little emotional, but it doesn't even have to be with loss. It can be about maybe parents breaking up, a divorce potentially. You can even channel your own heartbreak. Like I tease my husband all the time that some of our fights get put into our books, my books, but it helps me process like, okay, maybe he was right about this particular point when I write it down and I'm looking at the characters. It's like that meme where it's like when you're in the middle of the argument and he's starting to make points and you realize you're the toxic one, right? And I wouldn't have been able to, not that I'm saying I'm toxic, but I wouldn't be able to have seen that if I hadn't written out the scene. It could be again a breakup. Like I know that I have written breakups that have been where just trying to understand what happened. I know that before I met my husband, I dated this guy, and it was never to the level of boyfriend, girlfriend, but it was we were dating and we were monogamous and we were, I don't know if serious is the right word, but when we finally broke up, it was very much like I had to process this by like, why wasn't I enough to want to have made him want me to be in a serious relationship? And it wasn't like we were dating for a few months. Like this was like 8, 9, 10 months. And, writing really helped me through that of like, understanding that it's not a you thing, it's a them thing. And obviously, the alpha hockey player knows exactly what he wants and he's never going to fuck around like that. But like that helps you process things, right? So I think that in a really weird way, as writers, we're really lucky to have this outlet because we get to rewrite our own trauma or our own tragedy. I still get to have conversations with my grandfather that I might not have had. Like I get to write that out and that gets to live forever. I get to talk shit on all of the fucking stupid ass boyfriends that I had, all two of them before my husband. Um, and really process what happened. I get to when I think about the loss that I constantly like you're gonna constantly experience it, even a loss of a friendship, um, even a caregiver role, like the loss of identity that sometimes you feel, whether you're a mother or suddenly you have to take care of a parent or just a spouse, like you get to kind of explore in a very constructive and safe way, like how to respond to these things and what works for you as a person, but what works for your characters. And so it's sort of like you get to make a multitude of choices. Um, and you get to rewrite your ending. And even if it's not an ending here that you're experiencing, it's an ending your character gets to experience. And so in a way, you're you're giving yourself a happily ever after, if that makes sense. Okay, so let's keep going, right? Um, so the next step to really think about is rewriting what productivity actually means. So writing through tragedy means rewriting your definition of success. You are still writing when you're thinking about your story, when you're reconnecting with your characters, when you read something that sparks inspiration, when you're crying through a scene, and when you rest so your words have somewhere to land. You don't owe anyone speed. You owe yourself gentleness and you owe your characters the right story. So don't think about it like you're falling behind. You're showing up the best way you can, and that is more than enough. So, some final thoughts. You can still be a writer while you're hurting. You don't have to be prolific to be powerful. And your story does not have to be fast to matter or to make a difference. For mine took 10 years to write about my miscarriages, right? Take it one word at a time. Let your routine fit you and not the other way around. And let the season shape your voice, not silence it. So, if you're interested in maybe a little bit of inspiration, like if you're like, I don't want to think about it, just give me some kind of template so I can feel like I'm doing something, download my Plot Like a Pro below. Whether you're a plotter or a pantser, it doesn't matter. What I wanted to do is share structure with you, and you can adapt it to what works best for you. Comment below. Let's hear what you have to say. What helps you write when life feels heavy? And if you're up for it, please subscribe for more writing support, creative mindset tips, and sustainable author strategies, because you deserve to write in a way that supports your heart. All right, everybody, I will talk to you soon. Thank you so much for hanging out. And remember, I'm here for you. You are not alone. And I hope that whatever you're going through, just know that you are loved. So, all right, I will talk to you soon. Take care.